Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we'll learn how to create a grid in C++. So let's get started. So first we have to go to C++ classes, right click, new class, and then we need to click on all classes and then user widget. Click on user widget. Next, we need to name our widget. Let's make the class type as public. Name the widget to main user widget. That's a good name. Okay. So we create a C++ class. So once it's created, we go back to our main user widget. So we have the main user widget opened in Visual Studio. So we need to click for select it as public, and then we need to add a T object pointer and give a grid panel. Let's name it as main grid panel. So we need to forward reference it here. So let's name it as class grid panel. And then once you do that, you need to give a U property for it so that it can be visible in the blueprint side of things. So in that you give edit anywhere, blueprint read write. And then the most important thing is you need to give the meta specifier and then bind the widget. So once you bind it, let's run it again. Looks like there are some errors. I need to give a semicolon here. So once you have this open, we need to right click on the C++ class and then create blueprint class based on main user widget. Let's place this in blueprint. And then let's name it as bp underscore main user widget. So once you have a main user widget, when you compile it, you get an error saying that the grid panel was not formed. So for that, we need to first add a canvas panel and then search for grid panel and then add it to this. So let's rename this to main grid panel. Once it's done, the compile is successful. Now we need to save it and then let's go back to our C++ and then right click and make a new class. This should be a user widget too. Let's name it as button user widget. It basically just contains a button. So once you create class, you don't have to do anything in the button widget. We just have to take care of it in the blueprint side of things. So let's do that. So before that, this particular main user widget should have a reference to this button. So we are having a grid of buttons and this main user widget should have a reference to the button. So for that, what we need to do is we need to do a new property, edit anywhere, blueprint read write. Then give the category as UI, and then we need to have a T subclass of new user widget, and then let's name it as button template widget. So once that is done, we need to run it again. So now you need to right click on this, create a blueprint class. Let's place it in blueprints. Let's rename this to bp underscore button widget. we'll create a new folder here and put it in under UI. So we'll place this one and this one into the UI folder. So once you have it, you need to go to the main user widget. You need to click here, and here you have the button template. So you need to give the BP button widget there. So once you have the BP button widget, let's go here and let's add a button. Let's save it, and then you save it here. Compile and save, compile and save. And once that is done, we need to go back to our main user widget. Let's go back to C++. So we need to create the grid in a pre-construct. So for that we need to go to user widget, and then in the user widget you need to search for pre-construct. It should be native pre-construct. Yeah, this is the one. So you need to override this particular method. Let's copy this and go to main user widget. Let's give it in the start, and then we'll give a override specifier. Once that is done, let's create the definition. Once you have it here, you need to create the widget on the go. So for that we need the number of rows and the number of columns. So let's specify it here in 32 rows and in 32 columns. So this must be visible in the details panel. So for that we need to again go back to our main user widget, copy this, let's copy this one, rows, and then you have columns. So this is specified here. So we need to create a grid in the pre-construct. So for that, let's loop through the rows. Looping through the rows and columns, you need to create a widget of button inside the grid. So for that, you need to first check if the main grid panel is valid. Once that is valid, you have to get the button user widget. You have to copy full path. You have to include it here. Once you create it, once you include the header file, you can use that. So let's copy this. So button user widget, button widget. We are creating it in the C++, the widget. So for that we need to use create widget with specifier button widget. You need to get word, and we need to specify the template, button template widget. So that's how you create it. And then after creating it in the main grid panel, we add the child. For that we need to use the grid panel. We need to use the include of that. So let's copy this path. The components, and then we have grid panel. Let's change this to this one. Now we can access it. So add child to grid. Let's name it as button widget. So this adds the child to the grid. So once that is done, let's stop this and then run it again so that it compiles and opens it up. So if you go to the main user widget here, currently we don't have anything, so that's because the rows and columns are 0. So let's specify the rows and columns here, 2 cross 2. So as you can see, it gets created here, 2 cross 2. So if you change this to 5 cross 5, you get 5 rows and 5 columns, and the grid creates all the buttons on the go. So if you want to see this in game, let's just go to our blueprint editor. In the begin play, create widget, and then you create the widget, and then you add it to viewport. Now get controller. If you need the mouse, simple. Get controller. Get controller. Set mouse. Show mouse cursor. Yeah, show mouse cursor. Set show mouse cursor. You tick it, and then the mouse shows up, and this gets added. This blueprint gets added, which is this one. This one gets added. So let's see if that works. So if you play the game, as you can see in the top left, the widget has been added. So that's a simple way to get a grid in your game from C++. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe. That helps a lot. Thank you.